US President Barack Obama outlined a plan in his recent State of the Union address to increase the minimum wage from $7.25 to $9 an hour. The US minimum wage is currently half that of most developed nations around the world. Experts at Sydney's United States Studies Centre explain why.
Part of it is the different ideological stance that many Americans take towards what the role of the government ought to be in the economy and also in the society. So one of which is that the government shouldn't get in the way of the economy too much, it shouldn't be too much regulation, and part of that is the minimum wage. This is somehow going to distort the market, that the wages should be able to fluctuate depending upon demand and not upon some arbitrary figure that the United States federal government places on minimum wages.
There is a strong political division between those for and against raising the minimum wage. Many are wondering if it would be good economic policy right now.
The Republicans do tend to side with a lower minimum wage, if any minimum wage whatsoever, because what they believe is that if you allow wages to fluctuate depending upon demand, this will allow employers to hire more people and be able to lay off people depending upon their needs, and this is going to be better for the economy. And this is the whole philosophy about all boats rise together on the high tide. That if the economy is allowed to prosper, if wealthy people are allowed and business people are allowed to run their businesses the way they want to run their business, the whole society is going to function better.
I think the strongest argument for how it could help right now is the US is sort of suffering from a lack of demand in the economy right now, which is what happens after a recession. There's just not as, people are less willing to spend, and so they're less willing to employ people. And so if you can get more money in the hands of people who would spend it, and people living around the poverty line are the most likely to spend it because they're using almost all of their income just to get by. While there's sort of a divide between Democrats and Republicans, the American people are overwhelmingly in favor of it. And so I think a lot of times they'll use it, Democrats will use it as a campaign issue. They brought it up before the 2006 campaign, and I think they sort of ran on it, and they're going to do that again in 2014.
In the United States, a family with two parents earning the minimum wage is still living below the poverty line. A raise in the minimum wage to $9 an hour would help low-income workers keep up with cost of living pressures.
Even if it's doing just manual labour for the minimum wage, you are now on the first rung of opportunity, and you will be able to just save a little bit and either make your kids' future better than your own, or even be able to start putting a bit aside, maybe able to slowly make an investment, slowly start to get ahead and start to improve your own lot in life. And so this is not necessarily the rags to riches tale, this is not necessarily the log cabins tale, but it is the great American dream of being able to improve your own life. And if you're always going to be in poverty, even if you have a job, then this is seen as somehow being un-American.
The minimum wage is part of it, but there's also the earned income tax credit, which is where you give money back to families and individuals who are working, who don't make a lot of money, and as their incomes go up, the amount of tax rebate they get goes down. So I think when you combine something with a slight raise in the minimum wage with something like expanding the earned income tax credit, then you can use these different factors to make it easier for working families.
The economic benefits of a high and stable minimum wage are evident in Australia.
Australia's got one of the lowest unemployment rates amongst first world countries right now. I mean, you're very close to full employment, and you have the highest minimum wage as well. So clearly it would be oversimplifying to say that you can't have a low unemployment rate while also having a high minimum wage.
Despite its supposed short-term drawbacks, this is one thing that US federal policy can do to offset rather than intensify economic polarization. It is surely a step in the right direction.